Olá a todos, sejam bem-vindos a mais uma entrevista InMusic. Esta é integrada na programação do Festival Internacional de Música de Paços de Brandão. Vamos estar à conversa em inglês com o aclamado violoncelista Benedict Klockner, que irá participar neste festival, a par da pianista Beatriz Ferro, e que nos vai falar mais sobre este recital de dia 9 de outubro no auditório da Biblioteca Municipal de Santa Maria da Feira. Bom, Benedict Klockner, welcome to this interview that will introduce your visit to Portugal, next Beatriz Ferro, to this Festival Internacional de Música de Paços de Brandão. These sessions with FIMUV guest musicians are followed by 100 musicians. Most of them are students that are certainly expecting to listen and to understand and learn more about your career. We are sorry that Beatriz could not be here in this interview, but we are certainly that it will be really interesting for all the listeners that are following us. So, when did you start to study music and where?
I started playing the cello actually through my brother, who was a violinist, and he would play all the time on the house, and I would follow the rehearsals, and he was rehearsing with a piano trio, and I was really a little boy, and I was supposed to turn the pages for the pianist, and I fell kind of in love with the sound of the cello. They were playing the Mendelssohn D minor trio, which starts with this really beautiful cello solo. So after hearing this, I went to my parents and told them that I want to play cello, and they were first a bit skeptical where you could find a teacher on this big instrument. But finally I convinced them, and then I started first with a trio partner of my brother. I was around 8-9 years old. And then later I moved on to the Hochschule, to the university in Karlsruhe, to a wonderful professor, Martin Ostertag. He was very strict, but very, very, very good. He was really gave me all the basis for playing the instrument, and also gave me the freedom to develop as an artist. And after this, I studied at the Kronberg Academy with Franz Hammerson and Gary Hoffman, also two really amazing teachers, great artists, and who also had the strengths that they didn't put everyone in the same box, but gave them the possibility of develop in their very own personal way and style of playing. And that was really also nice, because we had lessons from all different kind of instrumentalists, conductors. It was really really nice. We would all sit in the room and listen to each other, and then we had great artists like Barenboim or Rettel or Gidon Krämer coming, and they would give advices, and it was really kind of a very inspiring atmosphere, because also the other students were very good, so you could always also
learn with each other.
Yeah, and it was really a very you learned a lot just through this atmosphere. Gidon Krämer always had this courses called dialogues, so we would play for him, and he would write an essay about what he would think about the playing, and then he asked everybody from the round what we would think about our colleagues playing, and then we would discuss interpretations. And it was really very, very interesting, and it also teaches you how to listen, and so that was basically my musical education. And
when did you realize that you would like to be a soloist and not only or not an orchestra player? Did you decide this, or it just happened?
It was kind of a development. So I mean, when I started, I didn't think about anything. I just thought it's great to play the cello, and I loved the sound. So for the first years, of course, I didn't think of making a career out of it or anything. It just started to happen that I had some competitions who went well, and then concerts came and possibilities opened up. So like I kind of, as a pupil, already got some nice concerts, and by the end of my school studies, I was kind of already a bit like already traveling to concerts, and it was like a natural development. So I didn't really had to make cut decision of saying, okay, now I decide to become a soloist.
Okay, so you started to be invited to perform in some recitals and so on and so on, and now you are here. You basically you do this as your career. You are soloist, isn't it? So
yes, but I mean it's not purely soloist. I mean I also play recitals with piano or like chamber music, and so it's very varied, and that's also something which I think I like very much, because the different forms enrich each other in a way.
A lot of journals, newspapers, and in the press, they say that you are specialized in mostly in Schumann, Brahms, and so on. But you, besides this, you are planning this year, this season, to perform the sixth Bach suites, and you postponed that because it would happen in the June. So you will perform them the 3rd of October, isn't it, in Berlin Philharmonie?
Yes, so like the Bach project started kind of with beginning of the lockdown, and of course the suites is like something which every cellist nearly plays from the beginning, and like it's like such a work where you can study all your life, and so it was always part of my my repertoire. But during Corona, I decided to really dig into it, because I mean there were no more orchestras or no more chamber music, so it was like kind of, I saw the perfect opportunity to really take all the time of the world and prepare it for recording, which also will come out in October. But I also wanted to have like kind of an echo of our time. So I asked 6 fantastic composers from 6 continents to write like pieces which I play in between the suites. And it was really, really nice to see how creative and fantastic they wrote this miniatures. And I think it's really a nice dialogue between the old and the new.
So we could say that one of the effects of this lockdown, of this pandemic situation, was positive. It was your opportunity to think about and to realize that you could do something else, something more, especially do this work that I think is it a must for a cellist? Is it a must to play while you are on your active career?
I mean, that's a hard question. I think probably nothing is a must. You always should do what you feel is essential to you. So I guess it would be also possible to say, okay, it's not core of my repertoire. I focus on something else, but it's definitely one of the most extraordinary works written for cello. I think it would be a loss to not play it and to not have the possibility to discover it, because there's such a richness in this music that you're never done. And also it's very interesting to work on them, because it challenges you in other ways than than other music written, because there's no original manuscript of the Bach suites. So you have to be a bit like an archaeologist and like dig into the sources. And you have like this two manuscripts, one by his wife and one by for my pupil Kellner, and they write sometimes kind of different things, and you have to somehow find your own truth in it and make your own version of it. And this is a process which is really fascinating. And yeah, also there are so many different ways possible of approaching such a work. So I think that's why most of us cellists really happily play and work on this Bach suites.
So here it is the invitation for all the listeners that are listening to us in the international fields to come to Berlin Philharmonie on the 3rd of October to listen to Benedict Klockner performing this Bach suites on his special Italian cello, isn't it? You have this kind of special instrument that everybody would like to have. Is it the perfect solution? Like we say in Portugal, is this the cherry on the top of the cake to have this opportunity to perform on this kind of instrument?
Yes, it's definitely, I think, a very beautiful cherry on the cake, or maybe it's even the cake, not even the cherry. It's like a really very special instrument by Francesco Ruggeri, and it was like built actually like around 1680, so before the Bach suites were actually written. So you might imagine that they might have been played on such an instrument, and it also has a great history. The cello legend Maurice Jeantrand played for many years on this cello, and like many of his recordings, like with Menuhin, the Schubert trios, or like also his Bach suites and his concerts with Berlin Philharmonic, they were all played on this instrument. And it's a really, a really amazing feeling having such a piece of history in your hands. And it also has, you can feel it has a strong character. And this is really a pleasure playing on such an instrument, which has like this really warm color and on the same time great strength. So for me, it's like really, I feel like this is my voice and I can relate to it.
Okay. So did you play with the instrument when you performed before with Beatrice Perrou? Because you have this will be not your first time playing with performing with Beatrice Perrou. You have already performed with her in 2020, last year. For example, you performed with also the violinist Bushkov. So what can we expect for this concert in Portugal on the 9th of October? And what do you most like on playing with Beatrice? What is there any magic or something else?
I think, yeah, it's really a great pleasure to play with Beatrice. She's a real poet on the piano. Has like an incredible sensitivity, a big empathy, and is extremely musical. So like when you play with her, you have really the feeling there's a dialogue. You have like she's reacting on every little phrasing detail, and so it's really kind of feels like talking to each other when you play with her. And this is like something I really enjoyed so much when I'm playing with her. And actually the last concert I played before the whole lockdown was with Beatrice in Switzerland, and it was such a beautiful concert with Mark Bushkov. It was really, I had the feeling there was a certain magic on stage, and of course you never can force this to happen. It happens or it doesn't happen, but I'm very, very much looking forward to this program we're going to play.
What are you going to play exactly?
We are going to play actually a program nearly of my favorite pieces for cello and piano. So it's like the Schumann 5 pieces in Volkstone, which are very poetic, very also like very exciting, because there's always the side of Schumann where you have the feeling there's a little monster coming through, or like something really dark suddenly happening. So it's not all like pretty beautiful, but it's like really music with like different kind of layers. There's like going from the most beautiful landscape to a little horror film or something. So it's like a really very, very exciting music, and I think also extremely well written for cello and piano. It's like really brings out the best sides of both instruments.
And besides Schumann, what are you going to play?
We will play also the Brahms F major sonata. This is, of course, like nearly like a symphony for 2 instruments. It's like really written in a very demanding way, for both instruments have like really big challenging parts, and the music is just really divine. I mean, really late Brahms, and on the same time, like the spirit of the sonata, it has like also the freshness of the youth. And in the second half, we are going to play the Franck Sonata, which is, of course, everybody knows that's a violin sonata, but they are like, maybe it's a cello legend, but there's this story that actually it was originally supposed to be for cello. There's apparently even like still 1-page manuscript from Franck written for cello, but then Isaïe visited Franck, and Isaïe was this really tall, huge guy, and Franck was rather a little man, and so he was like a bit rudely just looking at Franck's desk, working desk, what he was doing, and he saw this cello sonata and said, "Oh, what's this?" And Franck said, "Oh, that's a cello sonata." And then he looked down to Franck and said, "I don't think so. That's a violin sonata, my friend." So he changed it to a violin sonata, but that might be just a cello legend. Also, he needed a wedding present, so Isaïe, so maybe that's the reason. But however, he like always authorized cellists to play this sonata, and it's like really maybe one of the most beautiful written romantic sonatas. Or some listener at this time said even maybe that's not a sonata, it's more like a fantasy or rhapsody, because of this unusual style that he used for writing the sonata. But in any case, it's a piece which is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm looking so much forward playing it with Beatrice at your festival.
Benedict Klockner, after this interview, after this conversation, we just can expect youth, bright energy, because it's what we feel when we talk with you. Aqui para os nossos ouvintes em Portugal, fica a sugestão de um magnífico recital integrado no Festival Internacional de Música de Paços de Brandão, no próximo dia 9 de outubro, às 9h30, no Auditório Municipal da Biblioteca Municipal de Santa Maria da Feira, com estes 2 fantásticos intérpretes, Benedict Klockner, Beatrice Berno, no piano. Até lá, obrigado. Benedict Klockner, in Portugal, we say thank you. Obrigado.
Obrigado.
We are very welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Obrigado.